Coaching programs directed towards real estate, just to kind of see, if people are paying as much as they're paying for these coaching programs, what is it that these coaches are teaching? I don't think you can learn everything from one person, but you can learn something from everyone. And there isn't total BS with every coaching program. I don't really think that a lot of them are worth, I should take that back. They're not all not worth what they charge. It's just, there's a reason why people are choosing to go be a coach versus being an agent. And it doesn't, like, if what they teach was really, really that successful, just keep in mind that they would just be doing it themselves. And so there are some simple things you can do, but then there's some really big things you can do to prevent losing deals. When I first got my real estate agent license, I just remember the person who was my office manager at the time sat down with me and explained how listings work. But he had run large brokerages all over the West Coast, primarily in California. I mean, back in the day, he had about 45 years of experience in this industry. He had clients representing Reese Witherspoon, Matthew McConaughey, who's the big one? She's a huge real estate, Jennifer Aniston. And he taught a lot of classes on listing presentations. And he'd always started off by saying, I remember teaching this class and this young guy had a ton of listings. And he said, I've never lost a listing presentation. And the office manager said, the only reason why you've never lost a listing presentation is because you haven't had enough of them. Because at some point in time, we all are going to lose on a listing presentation. Doesn't matter what you do, how perfect you are, how much you're relating to someone. You just never know. I mean, sometimes it's just they say yes to the last person they talked to, and they just went with them. Now, there's things we can do to prevent that from happening. I think one thing to always keep in mind is no matter who the person is, you should treat them like your client. And I say that because from my experience, I've seen a lot of agents lose out on listings, and I've won over a lot of listings. If you guys could all mute yourself, that'd be great too. Or I'll mute you. I've seen agents lose out on listings because they came and they said, hey, I was talking to so-and-so, my aunt, and they ended up going with some random person. I'm really upset. And I said, well, what happened? And they eventually, it all came out that, well, I did show up in flip-flops and shorts, but I presented well. But I don't know. She just said the other people made her feel more confident in working with them. And, here's the thing is, anyone you meet with, any client, they're a client, right? And I mean, in a contract as well. So even if they're friends, family, I'll get brand new real estate agents from other companies, or I'll hear from them, even loan officers that work at our company say, my family member used someone else. I don't want to blend family and whatever. I've had family use me to sell properties. A professional is a professional. It's like, you should never be that agent who calls another agent freaking out and getting super pissed off and expressing emotion. I'm a professional. You just talk to me like a professional. What's going on? You're frustrated? Okay, we should still talk. We should still talk like we're professionals. I should be able to help friends and family members without blurring that line, because I don't care how much you panic and freak out as a family member or a friend and make things super difficult. I'm the professional. I should just be taking all of your emotions and saying, okay, what is it that they want? They want this out of it. Like Nate and Chanel, when I sold their house, they all had lots of feedback to give to me. But in my mind, I would take the feedback and say, okay, they want me to be able to negotiate and express they were interested in any offer. Now is not my time to get mad at them and say, I'm the real estate agent. Let me do my job. No, it's the time to say, you're absolutely right. we should be expressing this, but right now we want to wait a little bit, and here's why, right? It goes back to the education side of things, and it was fun. It was great. We sold the property. They didn't get sued. It's been 3 years since we sold the property, so they're safe from a lawsuit from that Bay Area buyer who I was kind of nervous after the fact because some things were brought up that I was really nervous they were going to sue, but it was fine, right? So listing presentations right now, there's some things that I think everyone, because I know with this recording, we have people, in California watching this and people in a lot of other states that we work in on the mortgage side as well, because we're trying to share the expertise and the information. I will never forget the listing presentations that I lost out on, because there were things that were done that I lost out on that someone else did. And so a lot of my presentation has to do with slightly bringing up things that I think someone else may bring up, so that I am not losing out because I didn't bring it up. And do I think staging a property is the end all be all listing approach that's going to sell the property? No. And I know a lot of people will win over expired listings because they say, oh, you just needed to stage it. I'll pay for the staging. I bet you I'll sell it. Yeah, well, that you should not say that. That is BS. And also you're just going to set yourself up to lose money. That doesn't mean you shouldn't stage a property. I'm just saying that that's probably not the only reason why the property did not sell. So a lot of my listing presentation, and I'm going to share my screen, kind of briefly. I apologize for anyone watching this recording. I had on Canva a whole listing presentation template that I could share with anyone, change the color scheme to match what they wanted. But I had hired a virtual assistant that I think went through and deleted, or Canva did it. I don't know, but they deleted every template of everything I've ever created. And I haven't been that sad in a long time, but that made me really sad. Here's the thing is, when I go through, this is a platform I have that anyone is welcome to have me create it. It's called Decktopulous. Yeah, right. It was so sad. But it's called Decktopulous. So my brother's actually a software engineer, and he was telling me that some of his friends work at this company, and he was shocked that this company raises as much money as they do just creating presentations. But it's really useful. And essentially what I do is with AI, I give it a whole prompt. The presentation side for me is not the point of the actual presentation itself, is not to present. It is to show off your professionalism. And it's like, people aren't going to pay attention to your presentation, but they're going to pay attention to your lack of a presentation. When I would go to listings, when I worked, more as an agent, did a lot of listing presentations, I remember sitting in that presentation with my presentation in a spiral notebook. Never really opened it, but I would look at all the other presentations of all the other people I was competing against, and I would see just the staple in the corner or the staple at the top. And I'd look at them and kind of fumble through, and she'd say, well, there's their presentations. I'm like, oh, okay. I said, well, here's mine. And honestly, I didn't really go much into it. I say a lot of this stuff is something I'm going to review as we go. It's more for things for you to review later. So my purpose, and what I think every agent should take, is that you need to have some presentation. There is no end all be all presentation, but it needs to look good. It needs to look presentable. It needs to look good. It needs to look clear and concise. And if you really are someone who says real estate is my thing where I'm going to make a lot of money, no matter at what point in your life as a real estate agent, you are going to get a listing, and you're going to get invited to be a listing presentation. For sake of making a joke related to the DoorDash thing that's viral all over, whatever, just don't get caught with your pants down. I've seen brand new agents that get listings really quickly. My first 4 deals were listings as a brand new real estate agent within 3 months of getting my license, all self-generated. Actually, no, one called into the company. That was a nightmare. But What I would personally do is you can ask me to do it, is I would create just a really long prompt. Hey, create me a listing presentation, pick whatever color scheme you want. Like, here's a position I was hiring for. You can go through and you can tailor fit it however you want, have your image here. What I like to do is I like to create just a template presentation where it talks about the things that I know other agents are going to talk about. Should you stage and what's the value? And it could be just bullet point things so that when you're having the conversation with them, you can go through the presentation and it just reminds you. So it doesn't need to have all this verbiage. It just reminds them, should you have staging, yes or no? And I can go through the presentation. I can say, should you have staging, yes or no? I'm looking at your house and yes, because this is on a busy road. The house looks like crap, right? You know what I mean? You at the time, you're not stuck and pinned in a presentation that you've paid a lot of money for, where the presentation says, yes, you should, or no, you shouldn't. And now you're telling them the opposite in your presentation. It should just have some bullet points and talk about some key facts. But state, anything that has to do with marketing that you think my competition might steal this listing from me because they're going to present this in a way that I don't know how to present it. Like a lot of our loan officers, I teach them similar concepts. It might be clear as day why someone should go with a conventional loan because their loan to value is 50%. They're putting 50% down. Why would they go FHA? But you need to present FHA as an option when you're giving them options because you don't know how someone else is going to pitch it. Same thing with any marketing type idea, any negotiating idea. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, and I'm going to get into walking through the presentation from start to finish. When you get to the house, I'm going to do it pretty briefly for sake of time, but I want to have everything in that book addressing things that I know someone else is going to. I'm going to talk about staging. I'm going to talk about mailers. I'm going to talk about running ads on social media. I'm going to talk about who is the likely buyer and in this area and what profession, what income level do they pretty much need to have in order to qualify for a loan. So I'm going to go to my preferred lender and ask them that. And I'm going to ask my preferred lender, what is the area, like what is the average job in our area that matches that annual income? Because then I kind of know, fair housing laws make it tough to advertise to those groups, but there's things you can do that help because to me, Google is a game and I'm trying to get information to that group of people. That doesn't mean we're not going to accept an offer from someone who works a different profession. If I'm trying to get this listing presented to a lot of people, I'm going to bring up to the seller that, hey, in our area, people in the medical profession are probably going to be the most likely client to buy this house. Some of my marketing is probably going to be centered around allowing Google to target those people. Not to say that we're going to accept an offer from them, but this is how it works. I'm going to talk about websites. I'm going to talk about how I can put it in this platform and my open house flyers, my just listed flyers. They have text codes. They have QR codes. I don't put flyers in a flyer box because, sorry, I'm losing my voice for some reason. I don't put flyers in a flyer box because I don't know who's going to take that flyer. And if they take it, how am I supposed to contact them and say, hey, we're thinking about doing a price drop. We want to offer you the house before we do a price drop if you're interested. I want someone to scan a QR code, have to put in their information to get details about the house, so that if we find ourselves in a situation where we are going back on the market, a buyer's canceling on us, or God forbid, we're not getting any offers and we're going to offer a credit towards closing costs, or we're going to do a price drop. I want to reach out to everyone who expressed some type of interest in this property. I want to reach out to them first as like a special offer, right? I'm going to have that in my presentation. And I do think there's a lot of value in doing that. But right, I'm going to talk about how every company probably has some type of leads. If you're brand new in this industry, you should be sitting down and going through your yearbook and adding anyone and everyone in that area. I don't think social media is the end all be all for every single real estate agent out there, because everyone's different in how they advertise and how they work their business. but social media is going to get to a point where it's important to have some type of follower basis so that you can say, and you can have in your presentation, here's a screenshot of my followers. If you don't have a lot, grab a couple screenshots from other agents in your office who do have followers and say, no, working with me, you don't just get an access to my database of followers. I have an agent who is famous on freaking TikTok, Chase Chow, who has 10,000 followers on TikTok. I have another agent, Paula, who speaks Spanish, and she has another 10,000 followers. So we are going to market your property. And I would have that in your presentation. If you have leads in your database, I would take a screenshot, black out the phone numbers and emails, and I would talk about how I've got a database of people who have at some point expressed interest in buying a house in this area. I'm going to advertise it to them. I personally work this neighborhood, and this is how I do it. Have all of that as different slides, different pages of your presentation, right? Because you can take that and you can use it anywhere in any presentation. Don't have it specific to one area, because let's say you work Roseville, California, and you're doing a listing presentation in Rockland. I don't need to have a bunch of details about how I network in all over Roseville. I'm just going to say I network in the area. I do community events. I do all this stuff. And the reason why it's important to you sellers is, sorry, they blow leaves here every single day, and it drives me crazy. But the reason why it's important to you is I can't guarantee that one marketing approach is going to get you buyers. But I just know that if I use a lot of these approaches, I'm casting a wider net, which gives us a greater likelihood of generating more business, right? Then I'm going to have a slide about pricing your property in a competitive way. I'm going to have a slide about, what happens if we get multiple offers. I'm going to have a slide about what happens if we don't, because I want to set expectations. I think another big part of your listing presentation is setting the right expectations up front so that people don't get frustrated when things don't go their way. Also, when you set those expectations, you're going to beat out the competition who are quick to buy the listing. Anyone watching this recording who has experience knows that people can buy the listing. There's a couple ways of doing it. One is, it's clear as day their house is going to sell for $500,000. I say I could sell for $550,000. They told you $500,000. I can do $550,000. There's ways to prevent your seller from going with that person. Not to say that a seller isn't going to fall victim of it, but if you bring it up in your presentation, how it's pricing is important, and then going to comparables. The biggest part of my presentation, and I think anyone watching this recording, it better be comparables, showing active listings, pending listings, listings that haven't sold yet, and showing these listings came on at this price and now they've dropped down to this price. So if you want to do the same thing, we shouldn't go at that price. Or if you don't want to do the same thing and have to drop your price and be on the market for 3 months, we can't list at that price. Showing just solds with the credits that were given, the credits that weren't given, how many times did they have to do a price drop? Did they get multiple offers? Did they not? That's going to really prevent someone buying your listing. It also can show you, sorry, it doesn't show you their commission anymore. Take that back. People also can buy a listing by showing you the commission. I think it's important. It's the same thing on the mortgage side. Do I tell people this is the commission I make? No. Do I even really tell people this is the interest rate I can give you? No. I say, this is the payment and the price range you're looking at. This is how we could get a lower payment, by negotiating with the seller. This is the strategy I would take in this market you're looking in. These are the next steps. It should be the same thing for all of you. Here's a net sheet. If we were to sell at this price, which I think it could definitely sell at this. Here's another net sheet. If we were to sell at this price, and talk about that. In the net sheet, it's just going to have your commission there. You don't have to then bring up, I make 2.5. I mean, you can. I would just justify it after. I charge 3% because I take a lot more legal responsibility. You are more likely to get sued in this situation. And so there's a lot more documents I have to look over and a lot more work I have to put into it. Plus, I'm going to front the money for a lot of marketing. And this is where people can take any approach. I think Nate takes the approach of here's some options you can choose from as far as marketing packages if you don't want to pay 3%, right? You guys can get on YouTube and find all kinds of different sales strategy in this regard. Some people will do, normally I do 3.5% or 3.25%, but I don't think your house needs staging. So for picture video, drone video, I'll do that for 3%. I think that's what this house deserves, and I do think it'll definitely sell. If you want me to do the staging, once again, I don't think your house needs it. I think it's beautiful enough. Then it'll be 3.25%. That's called. There's a strategy with that. You win over the listing because it's like they can tell you're not trying to upsell them, and it's a way of upselling people. But it is a strategy you can take. Some people may say, well, so-and-so said they'd offer 2%. Okay, well, what did they offer you to justify the 2%? Like, what did they say they were going to do? Or you can just take it for 2% and say, hey, I'll take it for 2%. But how are you to work with? I'm fine giving you 2%, only taking 2% on this deal. It is a good amount of money. I normally take 3% though, which normally would be this. I'm fine doing that, but how are you to work with? Like, are you willing to clean this place before every showing? Are you willing to open the blinds and make this a product that you want to sell? Are you going to call me at 9 o'clock at night harassing me and getting really emotional upset? If you can't guarantee me that you're not going to do that, then I'm fine handling that. I know how to handle, emotional situations. I get that this is the house you raised your kids in, whatever it might be. That's why I charge more. That person's not going to answer your phone calls. They're going to make it more stressful for you, right? You can pitch it however you want. This presentation, though, here's what I would probably tell a lot of you. And I'm seeing this in the coaching programs. Big thing that if you don't want to lose presentations, please write this down. You need to go to a local printing company and you need to make it a book, a hardcover book. Invest the money. If it's $5, $10, I don't know. I mean, if you're someone in a state where you're doing just a crazy amount of listings, maybe not. But if you spend any money on marketing, I would spend money on this first. Have a book made. Just have one page with a bio about you. Doesn't have to be anything crazy. It shouldn't be focused too much on your past experience in other professions. It should be just something, right? Something that talks about your honesty, your transparency, you as a professional, whatever you want to make it. You don't necessarily have to be the person that gives a number, because someone can always have a bigger number than you of how many houses they've sold. But I would make it a hardcover book. I would also go and I would get, this is a thing I've seen. I believe on Amazon you can do this. You can also probably do it on I don't know if you could do it on Canva. You might be able to do it on Vistaprint if you call them. Amazon, I believe you can do it. You could probably do it on Etsy as well. But there are these boxes. So here is what I got when I retired out of the military, or medically retired out. Here's a box, right? Gosh, I gotta figure out how to move this camera back. Here's a box. This is what people are doing. They're having their image on it. They're having their company logo, whatever you want. But you're going to have your book presentation in this box with the comparables. Doesn't have to be, that can just be decent paper. I would just say if you print anything to put in this box, go to FedEx. Their paper quality, FedEx, the Office Depot, I don't know what other states call it, UPS. Their paper quality is just, people feel the difference. They're not going to notice and say, oh my gosh, this paper quality is amazing, but they will notice if it's trash paper. I only know because my neighbors, someone went and door knocked my neighborhood and they said, yeah, this paper just, it's like, could they get a better printer? And I thought that was interesting. I thought it was cool that the person door knocked and dropped off flyers, but you want to go and you want to get, dang, there's a lot of dust on this. It's funny. Just wiped it on my pants. Awesome. But I would get print all of your comparables on that piece of paper, that nice quality piece of paper, and I would put it in this box. You don't need to give a gift. If you want to give a gift, you can. I just think that those two things with that mesh, whatever you want to call it, filler in that box, it's going to go a long way. And the reason why you're going to give people that box and that book is when they're interviewing multiple people, they're going to see it. There's a couple reasons. One, other people are going to see it. So if a lot of people ask, if someone asks, I'm interviewing 3 people, do you want to go first or do you want to go last? People have all kinds of strategies as to why they should go first or last. If you have a book and you have that box, I'd probably go first, because they're going to, I've seen it almost every time. It's still on the table, and the agent's going to look at that and they're going to look at the box and go, whoa, what? It's just going to show like, hey, this is the effort I put in marketing your house. It's a way to win people over very easily. I think you're going to even have agents call you and say, can you coach me or teach me how you do your listings? Because that box is really cool and I couldn't stop looking at it, and it distracted me from my presentation. Because I know agents that do that. I know there's some coaching programs that's what they teach. And so it's definitely something I would do. A big thing though, next big thing is every time you walk into that house, I knock on that door, I'm dressed nice. Hey, great to see you. Do you want me to take my shoes, leave my shoes on, or do you want me to take them off? Make sure those of you who are younger, you don't have holes in your socks and your socks match. People do notice that. Your belt matches your shoes. I keep seeing that with young gentlemen. And that you're wearing socks. That's also a huge one, even ladies. But you're going to ask that. You have a big yellow pad or foldable booklet, but something big with a big old pen. Big pen, big, not fine point, right? And I'm going to go through and I'm going to say, who would like to give me the grand tour? If it's 2 people, it's 1 person. Hey, would you like to, where do you want to start for the grand tour? And just ask them questions. When did you update this? When did you do this? When did you do that? Be interested in what they're interested in. It's a personality thing. I like to teach people, match their tonality. If they're way up here, you can be way up here as well and just be a little bit below it. If they're way down here in tonality, yeah, well, this is my house. There's nothing crazy about it. I'm going to match, but a little bit above it. So I'm going to give a little bit more energy, right? Because, people want to talk about whatever. This is like if you go and sign up for masterclass, they have one called on negotiating from like an FBI hostage negotiator. And he talks a lot about this. It's mirroring. But you become more relatable to that person. Just ask a lot of questions. You're going to really dive into a lot of what they're looking for, a lot of what they need, and you're going to set yourself apart from a lot of other people because you're spending a lot of time. So I realized I was sharing my screen, so let me go back and reshare this box. This is the box I got retiring out of the military. Got the flag in it. I have some 50 cal bullet for some reason. Oh, World War II 50 cal bullet, but that's the box I'm seeing a lot of people put their presentation in. But you're going to have that in your hand and they're going to be looking at it, but you're going to be taking notes on a nice pen and paper and showing that you're paying attention. You're going to get a lot of agents who just run their mouth and they're just going to talk and talk and talk about everything they can do. Be the one who shuts up and listens, because it's going to change a lot of what you say next. And so it'll actually give you a lot of details of how you present. I don't teach, and I don't think anyone should be taking notes and saying, okay, this is how I present. I cover this and then I say this, because that's not how it should work. Someone could say, listen, I'll put it this way. I had a presentation where, someone says, I walked in, I sat down with them and they said, hey, I think I know your dad. I looked him up. I think he's a big hunter, right? And I said, oh yeah, he is. They said, yeah, I think we sat at a table at a hunting dinner one time. I go, oh, no way. What do you like to hunt? We talked for 2 hours about all their hunting stories. And at the very end, this is what they said. Yeah, just how much do you think you could sell the house for? And I said, well, this and this. Sounds good. Just tell us what you need us to do to get the house ready and let's list it. It was as easy as that. If I would have went and did this whole presentation, I think I would have lost them. So be interested in them, be interested in what you need to do, but also be honest. I think that's also a huge thing that people need to pay attention to if you're taking notes. When you go in and someone says, should we do this? Yeah, can you reasonably do that? Just think, every house, this is their product that they need to sell. It's not their house. And that's what I would tell people is, this is no longer like your house. And I hate saying that because sometimes people get very emotional because it's a house they raise their kids in. And I understand that, but I need you to treat this like it's your product that you're selling. This is not your house. It'll help make your life so much easier if you treat it like a product. I get that you're fine with this light switch not working, but people are going to wonder how you went as long as you have without the light switch working. So let's try to fix it if we can. You can add in all kinds of different things, right? You can look up and do a lot of research ahead of time on, do you renovate it before you sell? You can make it a bullet point slide in your presentation and say, this slide is irrelevant to you. We usually offer a renovate before you sell program. Your house is already done. It's amazing. I don't think we need to do that. People are going to hear that and think, you know what? I've got a friend or family member that I think they need that. And so there's things with your presentation that when you're making it, you're turning into a book, just make it useful for any presentation. But I sit down, I go through the house, I write down every detail, I pay attention, and then I sit down, I say, here's a presentation. You can do it however you want. You can go through the presentation with them. But at some point, you need to show them the net sheet, because people just hear a number. They hear 3% commission, they hear 3.5, 2.5, whatever. They need to see the numbers. And people usually are shocked by the numbers, or you may be shocked when they say, oh crap, if we sell for that, I can't buy my next house. And you're going to think, how much are we off by? 50,000, 100,000. Okay, well, you're not ready to sell. That has happened to me. So just make sure you're bringing the net sheets, and then show comparables. That's the last main thing, is justify why you're going to list it. Why? Because you can get someone else who says, oh, I could sell it for 800,000. And they're going to say, well, I remember when Chanel said that if I listed for 800,000, she showed me like 8 other properties in my neighborhood that have dropped their price and now they're at 750. I don't think I can sell for 800. You're trying to buy my listing. And Chanel warned me about that. And they're going to say, why do you think 800? Because I had someone else show me a bunch of properties in my neighborhood that did this. And they're going to say, well, because I'm going to stage it. I'm going to say, oh, Chanel said I didn't need to stage it because my house looked beautiful. What's wrong with my house? Why do you think you need to stage it? Right? This is why I'd rather go first. Everyone has different strategies, but whatever makes you feel confident, that's what I would do. Last thing, because I know we get people in a lot of other states. If you're a guy, you talk to the guy more. If you're a female, you talk to the female more. If it's a husband and wife, if it's not a husband and wife, yeah, I don't know what to tell you. Just make sure that you're switching eyes constantly. Best thing I can say. I mean, I've had wives dress inappropriately. I've heard the guys just like falling asleep on the couch. I don't think you should sit on the couch if you're going to do a whole presentation. Try to sit at the table. Be the one who asks the question. Mind if we sit at the table and I can show you some things? Because people will fall asleep on you. Doesn't matter how amazing you are. I've had people fall asleep at the dinner table too, which is also why I don't like to do a presentation, and I don't like to talk more than like 30 seconds without asking someone a question. It also helps you drive the conversation. Any questions from those of you on the call today? I don't know why I'm losing my voice. No? Awesome. If anyone wants a presentation made, what I'd say is if you could email me a really long prompt, just like you are talking to ChatGPT, and I can tailor fit it however we need. Well, I'll add in a section with your bio and your headshot. I like to remove the background with any time I add in any pictures in there. But then I would just look up a print shop in your area, go get a few quotes. But I like to bring in my computer when I did it, and I say, hey, I have this in PowerPoint, but I can download it as a PDF. Like, what's the format you need? And they'll show you, hey, here are the books we can do. Here's the cost. If you're brand new, I would go with 3 or 4 made from Etsy for $5. Nice. Is it a hardcover? Was it just a presentation? And you had it made hard. Yeah. Or the Etsy person made a hardcover for $5. Adrian types fast. No, they just made the contents. Yeah, you can do that as well. You can use Decktopulus. You can use someone from Etsy. Just make the presentation look good. And I would show it to other people if you make it yourself. I'm sorry, but Canva, a lot of those presentations are really busy, in my opinion. But I would ask other people, like, what do you think? I've seen a lot of agents make, open house flyers and stuff like that from Canva, or try to make it themselves. I would use something like Decktopulus, who's made by marketing people. I would use Etsy. I would use another platform. Like, we have a platform called ListReports that makes all kinds of marketing material, but they're made by marketing professionals. The reason why is it's too easy for you to show an example of your open house flyers, and it just does. You think it looks great because you put a lot of effort into it, but most people think it looks bad, and I've seen this a lot lately. So let professionals make that kind of stuff. Not like I'm a professional. I use other platforms to make it. I do have a platform called ListReports that shows infographics of the neighborhood. I think that's really important to bring as well, because you can show them, and you can even drive by the house, take a picture of the outside, and you can make examples of what their open house flyer, and say, this is an example of the open house flyer that I would make for your house. Here's an example of the area infographics in case we get someone from out of the area. It might help win them over. You include that from our tool called ListReports. Yeah, I'm telling you, as much as I want to get people to call me off those flyers, I don't get anyone that calls me off those flyers. But what I do get is I get agents that say, hey, I just went over a listing because the neighbor was so impressed with my flyer. Or, hey, I just went over a listing because they love the infographics, and they thought that I sat down and put that effort into it before showing up for the presentation. If you want to see this, for those of you still on, it's a couple clicks of a button for me to do this. You could take a, like I said, you can see one. This is Monique's in Tennessee. Out in, oh man, that is quite the name. Goodlettsville. They've got a lot of vills in Tennessee. Vills. Here's the infographic. It's the convenience factor. There's a grocery store 0.1 miles. I mean, that's pretty awesome. An ATM, less relevant. Medical, gyms, pharmacies, outdoor ratings and things to do, food, the food report, a lot of places that don't cost a lot of money, coffee shops, stuff like that, ratings on school districts. I've seen some where they put golf course. Oh, they do have golf courses, dog parks, and then parks. So I've had people print this, make it either they put it in with the comparable, so it's a nice sheet, and they just say, this is some of the material I'm going to be presenting to buyers as they walk into to look at your house. That way it just helps win people over. Here's the sign writer I have people make, so that when people drive by, you get the lead, right? They text home ready to this number, or they scan the QR code. Same thing on the open house flyers. It has a lot of that stuff. It has the just listed postcards. You can kind of see what it looks like. I've even had agents, and I think this is important too, to say, I do a lot of the stuff with a lender in case someone has loan questions, because I don't want them to call me and I don't know how to answer their question. I'd rather, I'd rather have a good lender who's going to convert them over and win, win them and offer them a good deal so that you don't have to come out of pocket as much in order to give them a good deal. But there's a lot of things you can incorporate in here as well. So it's something that I think agents in any market should really learn and memorize your contracts. That's one big thing. And then I think another big thing is creating these listing presentations and buyer presentations, because it's easy to win people over or easy to get caught with your pants down if you don't have this kind of stuff ready. It takes time to print that book, but it's worth the investment to do it. It's worth the investment to create that box and hand it to them. I remember referring my brother to an agent in Colorado when he bought his house, and I sent him like 3 or 4 people, and one guy called him right away, sat down and got coffee. I showed up to his house to visit him, and he still had all of the material on his counter from when he met with the guy. And he's like, I don't even know what's in all that stuff, but he just came so prepared. And he had like this magazine from his company. He had all this stuff. I don't know. I felt comfortable and confident going with him because he just seemed on top of it. So I think a lot of people could do really well doing that and getting that started. So hopefully this is helpful. If anyone wants to strategize more or needs help with that, please feel free to give me a call and I'd be happy to talk more.